oh, it's a furry professor at Kyra. But what am I when I'm not the furry professor at Kyra? Well, we're going to talk about that today. I have not talked about this yet on this account, but I have talked about this in very much detail over on my TikTok. And that is, when I am not doing these kinds of videos or any TikToks with my other suits, I work as a professional mascot. And I feel like sharing the job that I do is very interesting because I feel like not a lot of videos really exist about being a mascot and what it's like. I understand that, oh my God, you can't talk about it, it breaks the magic. Well, if you don't want to break the magic, don't watch this video, because I'm going to talk about what it's like being a mascot, how I got the job as a mascot, and kind of everything in between. This might be a little longer of a video, but that's fine. Before I even get started, if there's any specific questions you have about what it's like being a professional mascot, ask. It is really cool to share my experiences because I know there's people out there that also would like to go down that same career path, but they have no idea how to do it. Well, that's what I'm here for. So if you have any questions specifically before I even get started, feel free to drop them in the comments and I'll get to them. So, I am a professional mascot outside of being a fursuiter. Technically, being a fursuiter opened up the opportunity to being a mascot, but not exactly, and we'll get into that. Before I even go further, I should specify, I'm a professional mascot in sports. So I'm a sports mascot. So from this point forward, that's how I'm going to refer to myself as. No, I will not tell you who I am, and I will not outright say the sport in which I work for. That kind of stuff I haven't even put over on my TikTok, so don't go looking for it. I'm very quiet about who I am and the team in which I work for, but everything else, very open about. So, sports mascot. What is it like? I'm sure you've seen mascots at sporting events and the crazy shenanigans that they do. There is a lot of hard work that goes into those kinds of shenanigans. Being a mascot seems like it's fun, but there is a lot of things that need to be learned. And the very first thing is you have to be able to do it. What do I even mean by that? I specifically mean that you have to be capable of being very hot, being very uncomfortable, and just always being active and doing things no matter how exhausted you are. It is a very physically demanding job. And if you're not somebody who likes to be physically active, I highly don't recommend being a mascot, because mascots like myself do events. Now, outside of a sports mascot, I also work for a charity group, so I'm actually like a mascot for that too. So I do a lot of outside stuff in the middle of the summer, outside, where you're talking about 90+ degree temperatures, humidity. It's awful. And you have like at least 10 pounds of suit on you. You have to be capable of being very active and being high-spirited, even though it is ungodly hot outside. I don't know how I do it sometimes, but it is a very big mind game, and that is another part about being a mascot, but we'll get into that. I should, in the mix of all of this, say that being a mascot is very fun. There's a lot of fun experiences, and there is a lot of things that you get to do that you would have never have been able to do just being yourself. I have worked professionally. This is going to be, I believe, my 3rd season, and I don't know how I have been gifted such a wonderful opportunity, but I can tell you how I got it and how you might be able to apply to be a mascot. So for me, back in 2020, when the world had shut down, a friend of mine had a wonderful idea about creating a mascot organization that goes to these, the parades and all these outside events that were happening during the pandemic that we could make so much better. They said, why don't we take the things that we already know how to do and give it back to the community? And that's exactly what we did. During that time, mascot suits were flying all over social media for sale because a lot of companies didn't need them anymore because either the business was shutting down or you don't really need a mascot when you're not even open. So a lot of places just got rid of them. My friend got very lucky and they bought suits left and right. And I thought, well, if I want to help out, I kind of want my own suit. Well, this was before I knew what the dealer's den was. And I was looking up suits left and right. And I happened to stumble on the dealer's den. I do believe I was looking up like specific animals, and I had luckily stumbled across the dealer's den. In that time, I found a full suit that was only, I believe, $1,800 then. Full suit, you can't get that lucky now. And I was like, wow, this is a really nice suit. I'm gonna buy it. And I did. Got the suit, got lost in the mail for a month. I panicked. Suddenly one day it arrived and opened it up. I'm like, wow, because this was the first suit that was mine, but like fully involved. I had done some suit stuff with my friend before because they asked, hey, would you be interested in kind of trying it out? I had actually been friends with my friend long before I started working with them. So I should specify, not only do I do the mascot organization with them, I also work at the sports team with them. We are a little duo and it's amazing. But anyway, don't want to get too sidetracked yet. So got the suit. I had, we were friends long before this, so they opened up the opportunity to me because I thought, hey, I think you'd be great at it. And I'll be honest, I didn't know how I would be because I had a huge dream of being a mascot long before the furry stuff. And the fact that there was an opportunity where it could happen was huge. So I ate up the opportunity and I did, my cat wants to say hi. We did a bunch of different events together, gave back to the community. We did a lot of work with the kids that were undergoing cancer treatment at the time because a lot of places weren't open for them to go to and have that time when they may not have much time. So we, as these charity mascots, were like, we are going to come, we are going to be the best things you've ever seen. And that's what we did. We did that all through the pandemic. And I learned a lot during that time. And a lot being, you have to have endurance. You have to, withstand. But being a mascot isn't just about being able to wear the costume. It's about being the character the costume represents. Staying in character is the most important thing about being a mascot. It's very different from fursuiting. You have to stay quiet and you have to be animated. Being a mascot is all about being animated, like I'm doing right now. Very moving around. You talk with your body. That is how you talk, because you don't talk as a mascot. Because it's not about breaking the magic. It's about maintaining a company's image. That is the biggest difference when it comes to being a fursuiter versus being a mascot, because as a mascot, 99% of the time you are working under a company and you are in full representation of that company. So they want a mascot that doesn't talk, you're not going to talk. They want a mascot that is animated and fun and silly, that's what you're going to do. So, backtrack a little bit. So, during the pandemic, did all that stuff. But then, when things started to open up, we weren't doing as much events, but I still had the suit. And I was like, man, I think it'd be a lot of fun to do TikTok. So I kind of did my own path, and I found being a furry was this very enriching experience. So I was actually learning a lot independently about wearing a suit and how to be very animated and doing all the kinds of stuff, because TikTok allows you to be very animated because you animate yourself to sounds. So honestly, a big tip for me to give to you is utilize TikTok to the best of your ability. It is fantastic because you don't have to talk. It's just performing. It's entertaining. It's acting. It's all that good stuff. She's just hanging out. She sees the shadows, that's why. But it's all about being animated. TikTok really teaches you how to just act, because it is a lot to put on a suit and go basically perform, because that's what you're doing. You're performing. And this is going to transition to my next part, which is the mental part of being a mascot. Not only do you have to physically perform, you have to mentally perform. You have to become the character that you are and stay that way, even when you're dead tired. Now, don't let that discourage you. We'll get to that. I'll probably forget, but it's fine. So, the mental part about being a mascot. Honestly, to me, the mental part overpowers the physical endurance, because it takes a lot to mentally be the best you can be every time you put that suit on. However, it is the most fulfilling and wonderful thing ever, which I will get to. When I specifically mention, the mental state, it really is a mind game. Anyone can put on a suit, but only true mascots can put on that suit in any state of mind that they are in their real life and become this completely different being. Being a mascot means you have to have different personalities, especially if you are like me and you work through different mascots. So I have one that I work for specifically, but I also, with the mascot group, I'm being different characters. And when you're being different characters, you have to stay in those different characters. You have to mentally shift your brain to be those characters. And let me tell you, it sounds like, oh, that's easy. No, it is not, because you have to battle social anxiety. If you're anything like me, I have terrible social anxiety. I can't get in front of people. I can't. My characters that I perform in as a mascot, oh, they love to take center stage. And you know what the coolest thing about that is? It's because no one knows it's you. And it is so rewarding to be able to do all the funny and silly things you wish you could do without anyone knowing it's you. So it's absolutely just a mind game, but it's not a mind game in the sense to freak you out and, oh my God, no. There are going to be times, because when I first started, I'd put on the suit and be super ready, and then I'd be at the door to go mingle with the crowds. And I'm like, I can't do this. Trust me, you can do it. Because once you get through that wall, oh, it is so much fun. Now, I want to talk about kind of like what I sort of do in terms of being a sports mascot. Because being a sports mascot is very different than being an appearance mascot. And what I mean by an appearance mascot is basically, think of like some grocery store. A lot of grocery stores will have some mascot that is for their business. They're not really performing the way that a sports mascot would. They are there to just kind of be there. Sports mascots are very different. Sports mascots have one job, and that is entertain, uplift, and make that crowd as excited as possible, even if your team is losing 20-0. You need to be in high spirits from the moment you put that suit on till the moment you take it off. And like I said, that's why it's another very big mind game. You have to be happy the entire time. At least let the character be. You could be miserable. You could be, fuck, they just scored again. Trust me, because I have to play that battle every game I work. It is so dreadful. There have been times, though, and this is really cool that you can do. There have been times where situations were like that, where we were dreadfully losing. And the other team would score again, and during like their little celebration, I'd curl up on a ball on the floor and be like pretending to cry, because in that moment, I'm entertaining. I'm distracting the crowd from the misery that is happening and entertaining. And that's the biggest thing that you're going to be doing. You're going to be entertaining, and you are a positive distraction. A lot of things, like, to put it simply, you're kind of just there. You're there to have fun. But having fun can be very draining. Another part of the mental part of being a mascot is how draining it can be. Because you have to interact and engage with people the entire night. It can be very exhausting, more exhausting than just wearing the suit. So for me, I will happily run down what I typically have to do for a game. So just to give you kind of an idea of what I mean by mental exhaustion. Because the physical exhaustion, yeah, it takes a toll on you. The mental exhaustion really takes a toll. So I'll get to the place I work, and I will give myself like an hour to an hour and a half before I suit up to eat, get hydrated, and just kind of mentally prepare myself for the night. Kind of figure out what's going on, what's the theme, which I say that, but I already know what the theme is. I'm very much into playing into whatever theme that we're doing for different games. So I'm already ready for that. But, you know what I mean. So I have to just kind of woosah and get myself relaxed. And then I will put the suit on. Now, typically games that I work, me and my friend, who we work together, they are a mascot, I'm a mascot, we will either be together or we split up and we kind of do our own things. The first thing that we typically do is we'll have our little work meeting, and then after the work meeting, we will have about a half hour where fans can meet us. It's a little meet and greet. And it is a lot of fun. It's very fun to meet fans and all that stuff. However, every interaction that you have with a person will be different. And you have to react and engage according to every single person. There's going to be those people that are afraid of you. There's going to be those people that cling to you. There's going to be those people that are super chill with you and you have some really cool experiences with. I have had a mix of everything of that in between. It is very mentally draining. Because also, you will have people that are obsessed with you. Not the you in the suit, I should specify. They are obsessed with the character. And when it's a little kid, it's usually fine. It's very fine. Because they're little and they don't even know that you're a mascot. They just see you as a character or whatever that you are. Adults can sometimes make interactions very weird. I have been groped. I have had my tail pulled. I have had myself put into a headlock that almost strangled me. I have had whiplash from people pulling parts and pulling my head down. I have been picked up. I have been squeezed really hard. Let's see, what else we got? I've been hit on. I've been asked to give them my number. I've been followed. I've been stalked. The list goes on. Now, again, I give these examples because I want to be real. Those kinds of things really do play mentally. And during some of these meet and greets that we have before the game, unfortunately, you'll have some of those things. Now, our fans are usually pretty good. Very respectful, just very excited to see us. Now, you have those negative reactions, then you have the really positive ones. Little kids make the experience so much fun because they don't know you're a person in a costume. They think you are what you are. Like, using a Kyra as an example, these little kids will see me and just be like, it's a cat bat. Oh my God, or whatever, but they won't know. They'll just think I'm a bat. But that's fine. And they're so excited and they just want to meet you and do stuff. Oh my God, it's amazing. And they have really, really cute things. Sometimes they'll draw you pictures. Sometimes they'll make little cards for you. Sometimes they'll give you little stickers or gifts. Oh, it's wonderful. It's so precious that these little kids adore a costume. But again, calling it that is breaking the magic, but that's a whole different topic. But those interactions are fun because these little ones will be dancing or they'll be just really excited, and it's amazing. And the thing is, on the flip side, there's some adults that are so chill, so cool, so down to earth, and they're so like awesome to interact with because they play into you being a character. It makes it really, really fun. And during these meet and greets, we have, the cool kid experiences and the cool adult experiences. I have had adults and kids alike just whisper in my ear, I think you're the best, you're my favorite. It's so sweet, because when you're a mascot, you work your ass off to be the best you can be. And hearing those kinds of things is so wonderful. I have been to, outside of working at the place of which I'm the sports mascot, I have been pulled aside at events by adults who are running the organization or whatever it is and say, you by far are the best person I have ever seen do this kind of stuff. You're amazing. You're incredible. You have not stopped being amazing since you got here. And honestly, there have been, and I actually have done a very recent mascot event where in the middle of the event organizer who invited me to come along was like, don't forget to remind me to give you your card. And I'm like, card? What does that mean? They had, so it was a camp that I had went to as a guest, just to have some fun with some of the kids at this little like summer camp. And the event organizer didn't tell the kids I was coming, but they said there was going to be a special guest, and they signed a card for me. And it said, thank you for coming, and we appreciate you being here. They handed that to me in suit. I bawled my eyes out in suit in the middle of performing, and I had to like stop and like completely readjust and be like, I am this character, I can't do this right now. But that's the kind of stuff you can experience. And again, it's a mind game because in that moment you're you and then you're not. You can't for a moment. You have to feel later. When I got to my car after that event, I cried. I cried so hard because I really wanted to be the best, because that particular event actually was the first event I got on my own. I had gone to a separate event in my friend's name, because usually we do events together, but they couldn't go, so they're like, hey, I can't make it, but can you make it with your suit? I'm like, hell yeah, I can. And it was a really amazing event. I did everything I could. The weather outside was shitty, but let me tell you, the weather inside was awesome because I was doing the best I could. When I finished at that event, I just collapsed. I was dancing, I was having fun, and by doing that, I had gotten my own event. Now, that's like one of the cool things, and I am completely sidetracking, and that's what ends up happening when I make videos like this. I completely go from one thing to another, but I think it makes it fun because it feels like I'm talking to you. And obviously, this is a very exciting topic for me. I absolutely love what I do. So much so that I will keep sidetracking from the fact that I was telling you what I experience when I go to games. Okay, backtracking. I'm not going to go derail until I finish what my day looks like at a game. Okay, so meet and greets are cool, and the whole, you can have good experiences, you have bad experiences. Sometimes you'll get gifts, and the gifts are so sweet and so thoughtful. I actually hung up the card that I was just talking about because it made me feel so good that it really put me in a really good mental health space, even now. And that event was a couple weeks ago. I felt so mentally good. I've actually been doing a lot better in my real life now because of how good that event made me feel. That is one of many reasons I do mascotting, is the mental effect it has on me is fantastic. I'm sidetracking. I'm sorry. But it was relevant. So, usually after the meet and greets, we will head to the concourse. Mingle, which, as a mascot, you need to know how to engage, interact, and stay safe in big crowds. Now, you should have a handler with you. Handlers are there to keep you safe. And they also help communicate things because being a mascot's very difficult in the sense of you can't just tell people things. So, you should have a handler with you when you're a mascot. If you are working professionally, please ask for one and make sure you have one because that company that you work for should be providing that for you. Now, my sports team is very good with that, and they make sure there's at least one for the two of us or 1-1. Now, the 1-1s are fun because we can split off, but I sometimes may split off anyway without a handler. It's comfortability. I have done it for a little while, so I can kind of gauge when I do or don't need a handler. Now, I mentioned the crowds because if you've ever been to any sporting event that has a concourse, they get very crowded, and when people see a mascot, they freak out, and they're like, oh my god, and they want to take pictures, and they want hugs, and they want autographs, and they want this and that, and everything in between. They want to talk to you, and you have to make every interaction solely about the person you're interacting with. There is a video that I talk about how to kind of gauge a crowd. And now I can go into very specific details with mascot work in other videos. This is just a broader kind of thing. You have to know how to engage and kind of, okay, I am interacting with you. Now I'm going to interact with you. You kind of have to create a system. Again, being a mascot is a very thing that you have to kind of figure out as you go, because it isn't just putting on a costume. It is a whole equation that you have to kind of piece together to make everything perfect. Now, we'll wander the concourse, so we will interact with fans and engage and everything until we have to do our pre-game little show. So for the sport that I work for, there's a little pre-game thing, and when players are announced, before that, me and my friend have our little thing that we do, and we have to be at a specific place for that. Now, when you're a mascot, there is going to be times where you have to be in specific places at specific times, and that is another big thing of having a handler is for, because sometimes you're not near a clock. Luckily, the sport I work for has a big old screen in the middle that has a clock on it that tells me at what time I need to be where. Sometimes you're going to have to be, not mean necessarily, but be a little kind of aggressive with, I need to go, because you need to be in certain places, especially for a game run thing, like a pregame show. So you might have to kind of just wave to people and run, because I've had to do that before. And, sometimes I like to find this after and be like, hey, sorry, had to go. But those pregame things are very important, especially if your team kind of is really depending on you to be there to do it. Because when you're a sports mascot, you are very independently doing your own thing. The sport will happen, but you will be doing your thing. You're on a different schedule than the sport that is going on. So we'll do our pregame show. Yay, let's start the game. So after the pregame show, the game hasn't started quite yet. Typically that is when we will take either our first break or go a little bit and then take our break, because the sport I work for has intermissions. And during those intermissions, typically we have to be on the sport playing field. Like I said, I'm very much trying to avoid what I work for and do some kind of activity. And again, you have to gauge time and make sure you're, where you have to be in terms of those kinds of things. So now what do I do between that? Fan interaction. I will be in the stands interacting with people. The coolest thing about being a mascot is you kind of don't have a script. You could do whatever you want. Let the intrusive thoughts win. That is like a big plus to being a mascot, is letting those thoughts win. Just do the thing. It's so much fun. So that's what I do. I'll interact with fans. I will do this and that, and it's a great time. I'll mess with people. You can do those wild and crazy things because you're the mascot. So the intermissions will happen, and basically that's what we'll do. From intermission to intermission, then we're gonna do our engagement, all the good stuff. Now the thing is though, we are running around the whole time. We're really not in one spot for too long. Now sometimes I will sit with a group of fans for a little bit, and it'll look like I'm hanging out with them, but I'm really just taking a very big break to catch my breath, because they'll get to a point where I can't breathe and I'm gasping. So I'll sit, kind of interact with some fans, kick my feet up, kind of mess around with them, sign some stuff. It's great. So we'll keep doing that until the game ends. Now when the game ends, it depends on whether or not our team won. If our team won, they want us on the field, or playing field, that's the word here. And we'll go and yay, we won. And yeah, that's that. Now, game is over. Sometimes we have post-game stuff, which could be an autograph session, which could be photos with specific fans. It could be going to another location for post-game activities. That's what the team I work for does. We have a restaurant across the street, and sometimes we go there, hi, and then we're done for the night. Now, game is over, suit off, go home. That's how my workday goes. It sounds simple. It does. However, there's a lot, as I've said, equations that kind of go into how to do certain things, how to interact with certain fans, how to engage certain people in certain ways. You have to figure that out. Luckily, I have had an amazing teacher. My friend is a mascot as well, and they have taught me so much how to be gentle with older folk or smaller children or anyone with disabilities. You can't be aggressive and all on top of somebody who may not really understand what you are. You have to be gentle sometimes. Kind of stop the crazy and the silly, and just be soft. Let them come to you. Let them interact with you instead of you interacting with them. Let them take control of the situation. Because that's kind of what fan engagement is. It's kind of letting the fan control the interaction. You're just kind of reacting from them. So if they come up to you dancing, you're going to dance with them. If they come up and want to hug, you're going to hug them. Bad interactions, well, those are a whole different thing. You're going to have to engage very, 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 very quickly. You're going to have to kind of assess that I might be in danger and quickly react accordingly. I have snubbed people before, in the sense of they were doing very inappropriate things and I just kept walking, didn't even pay attention to them. Or my favorite thing is to tell, well, not tell, but make this and the kind of thing, because that surprisingly makes them stop, because they don't realize that you can hear them. And just so you're aware, mascots can hear very well. So when you say things, we can hear you even if you're in our blind spots, which I've talked about blind spots a lot, and I can make another video talking about blind spots, but blind spots can be scary. And that's the thing. You got to understand that on top of all of this, you have limited visibility. So you have to engage, interact, have fun, do this, do that, run around, be crazy, be silly, but also have like pinholes to look out of. Mascot suits are not made like fursuits. My eyesight in this suit is fantastic. I can see so much. Like, I turn, look around. The only blind spot I really have with her is the direct center where this black strip is. In the suit that I wear for my job, my view is only out the mouth. Now, I can see the screen, by the way, looking at her mouth. You might actually be able to see my eyeballs. But all I have is maybe that much to look out of. And I have to do my job. And I have to make it look good. I have to be animated, crazy, silly, dancing, running around, doing all kinds of funny stuff with like like half a sandwich size like view while I do it. I don't want to make this video too long, but I do want to kind of conclude with this. Being a mascot is a very skilled activity. It's a very fun, very rewarding, very just awesome sort of ordeal. But it can be very stressful, very harmful at times. But the best thing about being a mascot is that you create some of the best memories in someone's life. And truthfully, I don't think there is anything more rewarding than that. Now, obviously, as I said at the beginning, and I know I forgot something, I know I forgot to talk about something, you will call me out on it in the comments, because I had said I'll talk about it, and I know I didn't. So ask me what I was going to talk about, and maybe I'll make a video about it. But if you have questions specifically about mascot work, by all means, ask. You're not going to learn unless you ask. And I'm very willing to spread my advice, my tips, my tricks when it comes to that kind of line of work, because I have them. I have the tips and tricks and advice and everything like that. So don't be afraid to ask. Ask in the comments. I have a ton of videos about mascot stuff over on my TikTok if you want to check that out. Other than that, yeah, being a mascot's really fun. I love it. Love, love, love it. I'm going to conclude this video here because my light, I don't know if you've noticed, this whole video has been dimming because it's dying. But that's okay, because we're going to do other videos at some point about this kind of stuff. Because I do want to talk about it, because it's fun, it's very educational. So, mascot questions, ask. I'm out before my light dies. Bye-bye.